What inspired me was these horror movies, like back in like 5th grade. They're like the terrible crappy movies, and I realized you can like make anything, just have like the main villain there.
Personally, I think what got me into film was that I enjoy the group aspect of projects, overseeing them, seeing them come to fruition after going through the trials and tribulations of production and, you know, making the thing come true. It's a really rewarding thing that you get to celebrate this film that you get to watch with everyone that you've really been through hell and back with.
Well, first off, I like watching movies, and I never really thought about the storytelling, the cinematography aspect of it until I actually took film production at the Anza. And then I started to see through the lens like there's different variables that make up the entire cinematography. And there are some directors that I was really inspired by. George Lucas, Star Wars. I was a major Star Wars fan growing up. Steven Spielberg. I really love Jaws and Jurassic Park. You know, there are some others, but those were the more obvious ones that, you know, had a lot of impact on the movies I watched.
I started filmmaking because I took theater in high school, and the teacher provided a unit at the end of the year where we could make our own films, but there was no budget, and she also didn't provide any materials. So we would have to either write or find a free script and produce, direct ourselves, and edit through like iPhone usually. But that's what brought me to filmmaking, and before that I literally didn't know how to hold a camera. And by senior year I had one photography camera which didn't autofocus or anything like that, so everything looked pretty shit. But yeah, and my favorite director, probably, wait, I have one in mind, I forgot.
What influenced me the most is Martin Scorsese. I like his films, I like his shots and takes. It just makes everything more pretty raw, because I heard he likes to use audio. He doesn't like to use ADR or anything, just like on camera, on set audio, which is interesting.
In all honesty, I never really, nothing really inspired me to do filmmaking. It really was like more of an accident in a way. I wouldn't say an accident, but I more just stumbled into it. I originally came to De Anza as a music major, and of course that went horribly for me. So of course I was looking for what else to major in, and well, I always had an interest in television, so here I am.
Well, since I was a little kid, I've been exposed to many different aspects of filmmaking. And I guess one of the first ones that started with Akira Kurosawa and his samurai epics. But I guess it's evolved much more, and the stories I want to tell have evolved since then.
I think my favorite project was last quarter in intermediate for the 5th stage. I was the DP for that project, and the thing that I really loved about it was I knew the people, I knew the people from back in FTV 20. It really helped with just getting along with the people. And the people that were new to the project, they seemed to be very, enthusiastic about the film and wanted to help, and yeah, they were really just great to work with.
My favorite project was, I think the one I made back in like 2023 was the one I'm remaking, the dream scenario one. That was pretty cool. I was director, and I was back then when I didn't know anything about ISO, gain, or lighting. I just went and filmed it, and I liked it. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
I would say my favorite project, is definitely the fifth stage. The reason why is because it took us literally a whole quarter to plan it out. And I guess it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't get to do it for project one, because it really gave us more time to kind of iron out the kinks, plan out the storylines, and figure out what we want to do. And the fact that, we were methodically able to plan it out and schedule like 3 weeks of strategically shooting at various locations that we scouted out before. It was fully planned and it was executed to the best of our abilities, and I felt it was a really major success. And Dan's editing really helped a lot, increased, gave the movie more pace, gave it more color, and and the imagery was very off the wall, off the charts.
My favorite, on set, was probably Obscura, which was my directing, intro to directing. Wait, no, right? I don't know. The class with Milena about directing. It was the second project I did, and I directed and wrote it in collaboration with Andreas Tetla, and we shot at 3 a.m. Until 3 a.m. and all my friends were part of it, and I got to do some costuming and some makeup. And my favorite thing to do was extraterrestrial or fantasy or just not in this world kind of looks, like fun editorial looks, but make it film. But other than that would probably be the one after, which I did with Andreas. I did it with Veronica, Maddie, Lewis, and Alfonso. And that one was a reality TV show with also unrealistic ass characters, and that was pretty fun.
Well, the one that I have on the top of my head is I was the producer on a project in the 1635 class in spring of 2024. In that class, we really tried to go above and beyond because it was the first time that the class was being offered in pretty much ever, it seemed like. And so students were up to their own devices to make a project from start to finish in a full quarter. What I got to do as producer was exercise my network to its fullest capacity, and got to upscale the quality of a project by branching out to everyone I knew from around the Bay, outside of school, and of course, some creatives. I worked with the director from within my class. He was a friend of mine, Sam, but it definitely challenged me, and that was definitely the most rewarding experience I think I've ever had working on a project.
I would say it was probably being DP for the first time shooting on film. We had many problems, but for the first time being able to kind of get hands-on with this new medium that this new format that I've never really thought about at all. And to now be able to truly appreciate it and appreciate that part of our history. Yeah.
Challenges. It's always whenever I forget to check out a piece of equipment or when I don't communicate things. I remember when we were filming the fifth stage, the first weekend, we filmed for 2 weekends. And first time I checked out a transmitter and a monitor, but there was no way for us to actually have that video feed on a bigger screen. So we ended up having to have our director huddled in a corner somewhere, looking at a little tiny screen that's made to go on top of the camera. And of course the second time, this was a lot of it on me, but we got the screens, we got all that stuff, we just didn't check out transmitters. So that's, it's kind of my fault, but we still got the film done. I am really happy to see how the film went.
I felt that, it also goes back to the fifth stage. I thought, we faced a major hurdle during our first project because we weren't familiar with casting and how to use backstage. But, the whole crew did a really good job of rebounding from it and turning it from a story into a mockumentary. And it turned out really well because it showed that, anytime you have setback during production, as long as creative minds get together and think things through, there's always a way to pivot and make it a success, even though it wasn't originally planned.
Some challenges are people that don't really listen. They something goes wrong and they just start panicking, which kind of annoys me. It was pretty easy to there's no phantom power, so just put that on, but they don't know what phantom power is. Yeah. I just wait for everything to die down and just then I talk. I could actually do it.
I guess one challenge is not having everything go as planned. When you're working as a team, things happen, and maybe locations don't work out or things aren't really planned. And you just always gotta make sure everything you can do is prepared, so when something goes wrong, you can focus on that. You're not trying to fix something else that went wrong on your side of things. And it's to act fast, be able to, if something maybe a little bit scary can happen on set, it's, to keep calm and to be able to make a decision quick to make the film survive.
Probably say my most challenging set would have been from my beginning video production and then also my intermediate. The first one was because I didn't have any crew. I did it entirely by myself. Nobody from the class was teaming up with me or anything, or either that or I was I'm gonna do this shit solo because I don't want to work with anyone. And I recruited my friends to help me, and I had to teach them day of how to use the equipment, and they were also my actors, so I had to recast 4 times with the same 4 people and switch them around different roles until I had a cast. And then it kept there were so many sound issues, planes and people coming from school and shit, and it just and the wind, the fucking wind, everything sounded like shit at the end. And they also we're not professional actors, so they don't know anything about anything. And the other one was probably also weather related from my intermediate. It was my second project and Miles was in it, and he knows that shit was rough as fuck. Yeah.
Well, probably the biggest challenge was the initial premise of the story had a 4th short film in this anthology, this short film compilation of short films, I would call it. 4 Steps for Happiness, but we only got to shoot 3, and once we got to the 4th day, we had actors fall through left and right, and we were really searching for someone particular. We needed a female presenting lead that was real good at skateboarding or skating in a skate park. We need to see a few tricks, show off your chops kind of thing, right? But it didn't come to fruition, and we really had to bite the bullet when it came to just accepting that it wouldn't get done before our director had to transfer out. But we were still proud of the work that we did. We came really far, and at the end of the day, I don't really have any complaints behind it. It just is what it is.
Wow, that's a big question. Okay. If I had unlimited resources.
That's a really difficult question.
Well, I don't really know what the plot would be. I really want to do a film that connects nature and themes of, I guess, environmentalism.
I would actually want to do a series because I think a movie is too short to tell a story. I think a series will give you more time to plan out each chapter in the story. And I would probably want to do a documentary. Documentary maybe on the history of San Jose, how it came to be, how each ethnic group came here, and how each ethnic group kind of settled in the South Bay, and to see how much has changed throughout the years through the lens of how I saw it growing up.
I don't watch a lot of movies, but you know, I really can't answer that question.
I would for sure want to produce like some kind of, or if I had unlimited money, I'd produce like fairy fantasy type shit. Like I love like foresty, kind of like magical, kind of medieval, like very like organza, very intricate design looking ass films and visuals. Like I'm like a real visual guy, so I'm like, I love a good visual, and I'd probably hire someone that knows how to write real fancy, because I know for sure I don't know how to do that.
I want to make a film with Leonardo DiCaprio. My DP would be the guy who DP'd Nora, because he did it so much. He made the film look good with like very little budget, and I want to shoot it in Rome just because of the scenery.
Probably one that didn't have any of my friends on it. As weird as that sounds, I think that as a producer, or you know, wherever I end up, or whatever I end up pursuing, having absolutely no one I know currently on that project would show how far I've come into branching out, meeting new people, you know, going above and beyond. Not saying that, you know, I wouldn't have anyone I, you know, absolutely hold dear on my, you know, my dream project, but I think that would be a testament to how far I've come. That'd be probably the dream.